genre.
Welcome back to the Doctor's Companion presents Doctor Who The Long Way Around, the weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Scott Corelli.
I'm Cass Fredrickson.
And I'm Nick Jimenez.
Today on the show, we'll be discussing Battlefield, the Seventh Doctor's ninth story. This is the start, the season premiere of the final season of classic Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have we've got our new our new script editor, Andrew Cartmel. This is like his second season now at this point, and just I think killing it at this point. And it's a bummer that the show ended, because like I just imagine like the things that he could have accomplished going into the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
As the Doctor Who script editor. It's just a lot of promise in these first three stories of this final season. Not so much in the final story, although it has its merit. It has its merits. It's a fun story. It's just not anything to write home about. But it does feature the Master with cat eyes, though. So
yeah, the Master is canonically a cat boy, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
True. So he's also canonically a possession slug. So So Battlefield, which rules, absolute banger, all-time banger. Battlefield got started when writer Ben Aronovich and script editor Andrew Cartmel, who were like buddies, they were working on a pitch for Ben to write an episode of Doctor Who, and he came up with what if we did Knights of the Round Table, which you guys have never done, which is crazy. But what if we did it? And it was like, well, the reason we haven't done it is because like period stuff is expensive, and like knights and castles and all it's expensive, so that's why we've never done it. He's like, what if we brought them to modern day? So then we just have to have like 3 or 4 suits of armor and nothing else. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. Then we could do it. So he comes up with this storyline. Now, at the same time that he's working on the storyline for what will become Battlefield, this is early 1987. This episode aired in 1989. And that's because during, as we talked about when we talked about Remembrance of the Daleks, that was a story that Aronovich wasn't planning on writing, and they asked him to like stop what he was doing and write this instead. So he wrote Remembrance of the Daleks and then circled back around to this for the next season. And during that time, it went through several iterations. At this time, it was called Storm Over Avalon, which pretty cool.
That's
name.
Dope.
Pretty cool name. And was expanded from a 3-episode structure to a 4-episode structure. So during this, during all these rewrites, at one stage of his writing, Bambera was an American captain acting on behalf of a joint U.S.-European initiative codenamed Camelot. And there was a supporting character named Lavender Warmington, who was later changed into a male character because John Nathan Turner was concerned there was too many women in this story. And I was like, I mean, there's more than normal, I guess, but like, it's still not even half. I don't know.
I'm starting to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's starting to be close to 5.
Yeah. So, and then at this time as well, the Asian student that befriends Ace was named Tai. Glad that changed.
Mm-hmm.
And Ace, in the opening of the story, found a design for something and decided to take it upon herself to like mess around in the TARDIS and build this thing that she found schematics for. And it turns out it's a sonic screwdriver. And so Ace is wielding a sonic screwdriver this whole story for the first time since the Visitation, the 5th Doctor story, when they killed they killed the sonic screwdriver.
R.I.P.
Yeah. So yeah, Ace was supposed to get a sonic screwdriver in this story, and
that would have been
was
pretty
going to
great.
just like keep using it, like instead of the
Yeah,
Doctor.
of course.
Yeah.
It's hers by right.
Right, because she built it like a lightsaber. So,
and that would really fit with kind of the theme of nostalgia of celebrating the show's past that the story has.
Yeah, absolutely. So also, like, at this point, they were basically Aronovich asked the production, like, hey, is anything happening with the Brigadier? Because that would be cool. Like, I would like to bring back the Brigadier, because apparently he's like a big fan of the Brigadier. And he was like, I just think his last 2 stories, Modern Undead, which we're actually covering on the next season of Long Way Around, and the 5 Doctors, those 2 stories like didn't really do justice for Brigadier, who was like this, huge character in the show, and was sort of a character that you could circle back to every once in a while. And he was like, I just feel like the end that they gave him in Modern Undead wasn't good enough, and I would like to write a definitive ending for the Brigadier. And they reached out to Nicholas Courtney, and he was like, hell yeah, I'll come back. I'm pretty sure the Doctor Who's going to get canceled, so I want you to kill me. And so they're like, okay. So they're like going to write the death of Brigadier Lethbridge-Stewart. And at this point, okay, so at this point, the end of this movie of this story is Morgaine plans to sacrifice Ace. Otherwise, the demon she had raised would eradicate all life on Earth, sealing the portal between this dimension and Morgaine's, which, by the way, dear listeners, in this iteration of Morgaine, a.k.a. Morgana Le Fay, and the Arthurian legend and all of that stuff, they are from an alternate universe. At one point, they had hoped to design suits of armor that would, like, at a glance look like medieval suits of armor, but were actually like super futuristic and like because they were coming from another dimension. But they decided, like, no, it would be cheaper for us just to rent suits of armor from like BBC's library of costumes than create stuff that was original. So that's what they ended up doing.
That's fair.
But what's that?
That's fair.
Yeah, absolutely. So at this point, Lethbridge-Stewart hears about this and calls in an airstrike against the demon. And then in this airstrike, he is mortally wounded and dies. his death satisfies the demon, who gets out of there. He's like, that's enough. The greatest man who's ever lived died, so I am satiated, and then leaves. Then Bambera kills Mordred to save Ancelin. Morgaine submits to the Doctor and to Unit, and Bambera accompanies Ancelin back to his dimension, where the Doctor would continue traveling through time and space in honor of Lethbridge-Stewart. That's right. This would end with the Doctor going to another dimension and continuing his travels in the other dimension, not in ours.
What?
Yeah. Yes.
The Doctor traveling to another universe? It sounds crazy.
So, but like, you know, I assume he would come back eventually, but yeah, just going to that other universe and hanging out and visiting other planets in that universe. What's an alternate universe Dalek look like? Who knows? Could look like anything.
Really cuddly.
Maybe they're spider creatures in that world. Who knows? So anyway,
we are radicals.
Yeah, they're the good guys in that
We
universe.
hold no rank.
So let's see. So some other things were changed. Ace's sonic screwdriver was dropped. Bambera, who was again an American soldier in the original version, now became the new unit brigadier. And any involvement of the USAF was removed. And Ace's friend Ty was renamed to Shu, which is much better. But the new ending of this was that the demon reanimates dead knights from throughout history and turn them into zombie-like servants. This thing does Army of Darkness like 4 years before Army of Darkness does.
Wow.
Army of Darkness. And then the Brigadier would survive the airstrike, but then would slay the demon with Excalibur, only to be fatally injured by the resulting feedback. And that's how they were going to write out Brigadier. He was going to go out wielding Excalibur, killing a demon. And John Nathan Turner was like, no, that's far too metal for this show. You're going to have to tone it down.
That's way too cool.
That's way too cool.
But he's the ultimate Brit. He's the ultimate Brit. Like,
yeah. Either his death satiates the demon, or he kills the demon with Excalibur. Either way, he's the greatest British citizen that's ever lived.
It's double-knighted.
So that went through some more iterations. Originally, John Nathan Turner hoped to get Graham Harper to direct this, having directed Revelation of the Daleks in '85, and of course, Caves of Androzani. And I was really hoping to bring him back. I'm trying to imagine Graham Harper directing Battlefield, and I'm just like, holy shit, this would be incredible. And it's already so good, but I'm just like, oh my god. Instead, they hire Nicholas Mallet, who had previously directed Paradise Towers. I think we could have put fingers crossed for like a PEX reunion at some point.
Zompex?
Yeah. Zompex. Nicholas Courtney had signed on to do a stint on Madame Butterfly, and was like, I'm going to have trouble with the scheduling of this, so can you guys help me out and figure this out? And so he negotiated with Madame Butterfly and with Doctor Who to figure out a schedule where they would alternate the shoot between Curse of Fenric and Battlefield every other week. And Curse of Fenric being the following story. And so they settled up with this structure, but of course, as a result of this, it meant that director Nicholas Mallet would have to go on to Curse of Fenric rather than Battlefield, and instead they brought in Michael Kerrigan. This being the only story that he directed. He was just some guy like fresh out of the sort of BBC directing like class, like fellowship or whatever, and had been like, sort of dropping hints that he wanted to direct for Doctor Who, and so they let him do this because they needed somebody in a pinch. And so they set all this up, and then Madame Butterfly was finally just like, yeah, you know what? You're too much trouble for this. So you're gonna have to go. And so they recast Nicholas Courtney, and he just was available for Doctor Who. So I'm sure he did lots of stage work after that, so it's fine. But yeah.
Oh, the
so
play.
We got a little switcheroo for the directors for no reason.
I thought I was trying to like, was Madame Butterfly like a series back then? I've never heard of.
Oh, no, on stage. So let's see what else. I think that's it. Eventually it became Battlefield. And that's pretty much it. The only other interesting note, I think, is the fact that two things. First of all, the actress who plays Morgaine is Jean Marsh, who had been a very short-lived companion named Sarah Kingdom in the Daleks' Master Plan. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it's like a very famous companion, short-lived companion.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was so short-lived that they brought her back as a different character named Joanna in another First Doctor story called The Crusade. So she made the rounds during the First Doctor era, and now she was back to play Morgaine. I personally, watching this, I was watching this story and thinking the whole time, I was like, God, who does she remind me of? And I finally figured out that I think she looks like Elizabeth Mitchell, who played Juliet on Lost. I don't know why, but there was like certain moments, certain looks that she would give, and I was like, oh man, you look just like Juliet from Lost.
Mm-hmm.
Did Elizabeth Mitchell ever play a villain in something? Maybe that's what I'm associating it with.
I'm not sure.
I feel like
she wasn't a villain in The Purge. I feel like, was she in Once Upon a Time? Is that a show any of us watched?
Yeah, and I think she was one of the witches. I think you're right. I think she was like an evil queen or something in that. I think you're right.
Okay.
That might be what I'm thinking of, and where the association in my brain is clicking. And then the other thing is that Aronovich and I forget everybody's names because they're not on the show for very long. And Andrew Cartmel, Ben Aronovich and Andrew Cartmel really hit it off during this, and Andrew Cartmel was sort of low key hoping that when he would eventually want to step down as script editor, that Ben Aronovich would take over as script editor at some point in the future. It's not like he was planning on leaving anytime soon, but that's what his like sort of career plan, his career trajectory was like, when I leave Doctor Who, I'm going to leave it to this guy because he knows what's up. And man, the future, the 90s Doctor Who really was looking bright. That's the worst part about us reaching the end of Classic Who. Really, really sucks.
Could have gone to a rave.
Yeah. Oh man. I am like 99% sure there is a Big Finish audio where they go to a rave. I even think it's Seventh Doctor and Ace. I'm pretty sure.
Bless.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah. So that's Battlefield. An absolute all-timer banger, at least in my opinion. What do you guys think? Cass, I think you agree.
Yes. So this is my favorite McCoy story. It is absolutely bad shit. It has everything you could want. It's got the Brigadier. It's got space knights. It's got a demon striptease. It's got racism. It's got enemies to lovers. It's got pretty much everything. And Ace blows up a lot of stuff. So there you go.
And it should be emphasized that we keep referring to this demon as if it's not the coolest fucking thing that's ever happened on Doctor Who. Like, this is the coolest creature. Like, this is movie quality
the
creature
prosthetic
design.
looks
It looks
awesome.
like something from Buffy.
Yes.
Yeah. It's something from Buffy. It looks like the Judge or whatever. I mean, it fucking rules so hard. Anyway, Nick, what did you think?
For a show, lovingly, but for a show that is known for its, like, you know, less than impressive creature work a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Where, you know, it's like whatever they found in the bin, and, like, you know, the first time you see Destroyer, it is just so above and beyond anything that I've seen of classic Who. Like, it had facial expressions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It drooled.
It drooled. No, this is an all banger. You know, the best part, I've come to really love this era.
I think that was the MacGuffin in the Transformers movies, the all banger.
The all banger. Sam, take the all banger. Yeah.
We must find the all banger.
Get the all banger from the boy. You know, the great thing about doing the show this way, and like getting like, it's like just when I'm getting like really like frustrated with the Colin Baker era, and I'm like, oh god, that's so gross, and blah blah blah. It's like I always know right around the corner is this era that has been consistently like delightful and fun and exciting. And yeah, I just think this is like one of the best scripts I've seen yet on Classic Who. There's like so many moments, and I could just like imagine watching this as like a Doctor Who fan in the 80s and being like, oh my god, like they're doing this and they're bringing. Yeah, I'm surprised this was the premiere because it feels like a finale.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's only 3 more stories left. So
sure.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So good. All right. Well, let's get into the first episode. Battlefield, Part 1. Written by Ben Aronovich. Directed by Michael Kerrigan. Produced by John Nathan Turner. Script edited by Andrew Cartmel. Air date 6th of September, 1989. Brigadier Lethbridge-Stewart is enjoying retirement with his wife Doris, while the new unit brigadier Winifred Bambera deals with equipment failures and peculiar sightings of armor-clad knights while in a nuclear missile convoy. Meanwhile, the 7th Doctor and Ace, lured to the area by a distress signal so powerful that it even crosses universes, hitches a ride with an archaeologist excavating an old battlefield nearby, only to find it's been taken over by unit soldiers. The Doctor finds old unit identification to get himself and Ace into the unit camp, where they meet Brigadier Bambera, who confiscates the passes and ejects Ace and the Doctor from the convoy. But one unit soldier, who had previously served under Lethbridge-Stewart, recalls Unit's former scientific advisor, his eccentricity, his ability to change appearance, and his tendency to attract trouble. Intrigued, Bambera gives the Doctor and Ace a lift to the nearby Gore Crow Hotel and asks Unit Headquarters to recall Lethbridge-Stewart into duty. At the hotel, Ace befriends a young woman named Shao, while the Doctor talks to the innkeeper. She is blind but psychic and knows that the ancient scabbard over the inn's fireplace is an object of tremendous and mysterious power. Ace and Shao are chatting outside the hotel when the Doctor joins them just in time to witness something crash into the innkeeper's microbrewery. It is revealed to be a knight in full armor, and when his helmet is removed, he warmly greets the Doctor as Merlin. The knight's name is Ancelin, who refers to the distress signal intercepted by the TARDIS as Excalibur's Call, and claims that it heralds the start of a final war and King Arthur's restoration to the throne. The Doctor surmises that the coming battle isn't properly part of this dimension at all, and belongs to a parallel universe. But before he can test the theory, an exasperated Brigadier Bambera storms into the microbrewery and declares everyone under arrest. She is interrupted by the unexpected arrival of more extra-dimensional knights who prepare to kill the group. We start off this absolute banger of a story with the Brigadier retired and plant shopping with his wife. And it's the best. And he's just like, now where is that bloody cashier? He's like in the Home and Garden Center.
It's like the beginning of a Taken movie.
Yeah. A little bit.
He's out of the game. He's happy. He's with his wife.
Yeah.
What was her name?
His wife. I think this is her first appearance, right?
I don't
His
remember if she's in Modern Undead or not.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Is this
But
like
also,
Columbo's
it was long
wife
enough ago that I kind of think maybe not. I don't know.
Is this a Columbo's wife situation where would he refer to having a wife, but she was like never seen?
Yeah, because we talked about that in the third Doctor story that we covered this round, where he wakes up in bed, but you only see half the bed. He's like,
Yeah.
You're gonna wake up my wife that I definitely have, you know.
But now canon.
Yeah. We also meet the new Brigadier in this because we run into some unit soldiers, and then they're like, "Hold on, the Brigadier's coming," and then it's like a lady, which is fun. One, I'm glad this wasn't one too many ladies for John Nathan Turner.
She made the cut. What was her name? Bambera?
Yeah,
Brigadier Bambera.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite supporting characters I've seen on Classic Who so far.
She's she's really good. I think that there's room there was room to improve her, just because like I liked how aggro she was, but there was like there was an absolute lack of softness of any kind, where like even when she's like flirting later, it's like aggro. It's like aggro flirting.
Yeah, but he's into it.
Yeah. No, I know, but it's just she comes across as a little one note to me, unfortunately. I wish there were like layers to her.
There is one vulnerable moment, and I can't remember what. I think this might be episode 4, but the battle has happened, and Sir Askren, what was that guy's name? Askren.
I was having trouble. Ancelin. I was having trouble at sticking to my head as well. I couldn't do it.
So Ancelin and Bambara are on the battlefield, and like Bambara like looks down at the corpse of a dead knight of an enemy knight, and she's like, "Oh man, like the slings and arrows. Like what are we? We're just soldiers.
Yeah.
Like inside." And then Asinine is like, "Hey, you want to go out sometime?" Like. What was his name?
Asselin.
Oh, it's gonna happen the whole show. He was like flirting, and she was like, "What, dude? Like, come on, there's a dead body like right there." And I was like, "Oh wow, he's holding more." Yeah,
it's in my arms. Yeah. So one thing that I wanted to point out, I guess, which they reveal like exactly one time and then they never really refer to it again, but it's the fact that they're in 1997, so this is technically the future, which is odd. But yeah, Unit wears little berets and camo that is so brightly saturated that like I don't even know that you can call it camouflage anymore. Like I feel like they would stand out in a forest wearing that camo.
That's funny.
Very bright.
It's like the camo you would get at like an Aeropostale in the 2000s.
Yeah. That's like bejeweled or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like a bejeweled snake on it.
Oh, there's two great snakes in a row, guys.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to it.
Let's see. So we get the Doctor and Ace hitchhiking, and the unit truck just like ignores them and drives past, which is pretty great.
The driver's like, "Hey, they're hitchhikers," and Burma's like, "Yeah, they sure are."
And then they're picked up by this guy who is the lead, like he's like the lead.
His name was like Warmly, right? Like Fred Warmly.
Yeah. So I think this was the character that was supposed to be the woman that they rewrote to be a man. I think it was this guy. He's like
Warmsley.
Warmsley. Yeah, I believe that's right.
That's the archaeologist.
Yeah, lead archaeologist, looking at like medieval stuff.
Scott, you mentioned Transformers earlier, and it's funny when the suits of armor are like falling into the atmosphere and then people think that they're missiles. I got like 07 Transformers vibes.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Michael Bay should have directed this.
Sure. He should have directed a lot of Doctor
Who. Should have. There is at least one episode coming up this season that, directed by Michael Bay, probably would have improved. But that episode is Fear Her. I'm trying to imagine him directing the scene where the 10th Doctor has the Olympic torch. And I'm like, oh yeah, he would have directed the shit out of that.
It would have been 82 shots.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh man. Anyway, there would have been explosions when he set it into the slot.
Yeah.
For sure. So anyway,
American flag.
An American flag, definitely. I love the Doctor's pockets being full of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Always love that. Big fan of that. There's the Doctor and Ace, they like burst into like a unit, I don't know, like a mobile center, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the Doctor starts explaining stuff, and the new Brigadier is like, "No, we're not doing this. I don't know who you are, who you think you are, but you need to get out of here." And then she's like, "Way to go, asshole! You just let these people in. They got old like super old credentials. Like you just let anybody in." He's like, "Well, I did. I used to work with. I know you tell me never to mention his name, but I used to work with Brigadier Lethbridge-Stewart. I'm sorry. And
Greatest man to ever live.
Yeah, the greatest man who's ever lived. And there used to be this guy named the Doctor, but like it was kind of confusing because like sometimes he'd be one guy and then he'd be another guy and then he'd be a third guy. And apparently he's the same guy, but he looks different. And she just keeps coming up with scenarios of like what this could mean. Like, oh, interesting. He takes disguises. He's like, no, he's like a completely different person that calls himself the Doctor each time. And he's like, no, same guy, completely different person. And she's like, I don't understand how that's possible. He's like, welcome to my world, lady. I don't know either.
As he's getting out, the Doctor has a line where he's like, I got one word for you. Daleks, Cybermen, Yetis. Like he just like starts listing adversaries that he's had.
Yeah. And she's like, whatever, get him out of here. So then I think at this point they call up our Brigadier as he's gardening. And they're like, "Hey, we need the brigadier to come out of retirement," and he's like, "No, I'm not going to do it." And then his wife tells him, "They said that the doctor was in town," and he was like, "God damn it, one last ride." Just like, if anything's gonna pull him out of retirement, it's the doctor.
I love it so much.
I love it. I just love it as the idea of like this guy was like, we need a good send off for the brigadier. And there's literally, you're pulling him out of retirement. There's a moment later in the story where he basically says, "I'm too old for this shit."
Uh-huh.
It's incredible.
I'm a big fan of when he's all like in his uniform, he's headed out the door, and his wife is like, I just don't know why you're heading out there. Does all of this mean like so little to you? And he's like, "I'm sorry, darling, I have to go. The doctor needs my help." And she's like, "Well, like I just didn't think why do you have to do this? Why do you have to put on a uniform and play soldier?" And he says, "I'm not playing."
And he like cocks his gun.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. No, I truly feel that retired like coming out of retirement for one last adventure brigadier is the brigadier finally self-actualized. Like it is, it just like perfectly lines up with everything about his personality.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just chef's kiss. Beautiful. So anyway, Ace makes friends at a pub.
Yeah.
This guy has a goddamn microbrewery going on in 1997, which is pretty impressive.
Ace tries to order a drink, but the doctor's like, hey,
come on. I know you're 18, but come on. But luckily her friend is like, no, it tastes bad. Don't drink it. Yeah.
I like Xiao Yang. I'm glad that Ace had a buddy this whole story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wish she kind of continued on. I think that would have been a fun energy to have. Like, just like two girlfriends and the doctor. Like that'd be fun. I don't know.
They almost at times had kind of like a Marcy Peppermint Patty thing, where like Ace was kind of like the leader, but and like that's interesting. The idea of like a companion having a sidekick.
Yeah. That is good. That's good, especially with like their plans for Ace, and where the direction they wanted to take her, which was basically to like the doctor was teaching her how to be a Time Lord.
Right.
That would have been fun for her to have her own companion and her own sonic screwdriver.
Yeah.
I mean, she has that energy. I mean, she's like, I think she's been my favorite class and companion, but like, I don't know. She's like in such fine form this whole story.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. And then a knight smashes through his distillery, through the ceiling of the distillery, and they go check it out. And first, new brigadier shows up, and she's like, "Stop where you are! I'm arresting you!" And then the bad knights show up, and they're like, "What up? We're gonna kill you, actually, including you, the one with the gun."
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the cliffhanger. Bad Knights.
Mordred.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Mm.
They're just bad knights. One of them just has an open mouth, like the mouth of Sauron, like just this little.
Yeah, that's who that was. That was the mouth of Morgaine.
The mouth of Sauron. Battlefield, Part 2, written by Ben Aronovich, directed by Michael Kerrigan, produced by John Nathan Turner, script edited by Andrew Cartmill. Air date 13th of September, 1989. The lead knight is Ancelin's sworn enemy Mordred, who also recognizes the Doctor as Merlin. He warns the Doctor that his mother Morgaine will return soon. Mordred retreats, unwilling to face the Doctor, and the rest of the party retreat back to the hotel. Mordred begins a strange ritual intended to link his home dimension to this one and allow Morgaine to cross over. As the ritual succeeds, the scabbard on the wall of the hotel lounge breaks free and sails across the room towards the lake before implanting itself in a wall. The Doctor realizes what is happening but cannot stop it, and Morgaine crosses over. Officially out of retirement and on his way to the unit convoy, Brigadier Lethbridge-Stewart's helicopter is taken down by Morgaine as a demonstration of her power. The helicopter pilot manages to crash land safely despite this, and the Brigadier sets off in search of the Doctor. The archaeologist from earlier shows the Doctor and Ace around the dig site and points out a mysterious inscription. The Doctor recognizes his own handwriting, instructing him to dig a hole, which he asks Ace to do with some well-placed explosives. At the bottom is an 8th century tunnel made of cement, a substance that shouldn't have existed in medieval times. At the end of the tunnel is a strange room. Ace and the Doctor look in vain for some way out until the Doctor simply commands the door to open and it obeys. As they proceed, the Doctor explains that Merlin must have built the spaceship it appears they are in, and that he is Merlin, or will be, which is why the door opened at his command. In the topmost level of the spaceship, they find King Arthur in suspended animation, along with the sword Excalibur. Ace accidentally draws Excalibur, which triggers an automated defense system that traps her in an airtight chamber, rapidly filling with water, while the Doctor is knocked unconscious, helpless, as she begins to drown. So, episode 2 starts... the Mad Knight is like, I'm actually going to kill you. And she just shoots him in the face. Just like full-blown, bam, shoots him in the face.
Vanvera
he's got real good armor. Yeah. So that doesn't work out for him. But for her. But then he takes his mask off and he reveals that he's Mordred, the famous character of Arthurian legend. Mm-hmm. And then recognizes the Doctor as Merlin.
Yes. Because that reveal happens towards the end of episode 1, where the good knight, Anslin, is just like, oh, it's Merlin. And the Doctor's like, oh, okay, I'm Merlin? He's like, yeah. And it's revealed that, like, the Doctor is Merlin in sometime in his future, like his personal future.
Right.
Which I am...
Is this the first time that's happened?
Yes.
In Doctor Who? Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think so. But that's a concept I'm obsessed with and have been obsessed with for the past, like, decade since I've watched this for the first time. And I'm super mad that they didn't actually do, like, a Knights of the Round Table story with Matt Smith, because that would have fit the vibe perfectly. But anyway, I want to write for Doctor Who. I want to write this story.
I love this too. And honestly, like, this story in particular, like the whole, and they do really fun stuff with the idea of the Doctor being Merlin in his future.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I kind of did imagine Matt Smith's Doctor being the one to,
right?
It just is like, that's my headcanon.
Because the whole theme of that, like, of his Doctor at the very beginning was like all that fairy tale stuff, and I was like, oh, that would be perfect. And then they never did it.
Yeah, that is very true. I will give you that, but to me, it's like it's Capaldi. Mm-hmm. Capaldi as Merlin. Oh man, just like Capaldi and like a long beard. Just and like playing guitar in a corner, and people are like, "What is this madness?" He's just playing electric guitar. Yeah, everybody like, "It's magic," and he's like, "Sure, whatever." I don't know. But in any event, it's really cool. What is what I don't remember what story it is. I think it is during a Moffat. It feels like a Moffat joke, but like that joke where somebody was like, "Don't bring up fictional character. Don't bring up like mythical characters."
Oh, it's like, oh, don't bring up wizards and stories. It's usually him.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, yeah. That's the line. Yeah. Man. Why not? It's usually him.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
I got a lot of Moffat from this story, in the same way that Moffat isn't afraid of giving his characters big, cool, like, I'm not playing, like, kind of action hero lines.
Yeah. This was also, I think, the first story where the script has finally outgrown the format that they're stuck in. The sort of like serial, like low budget, afternoon serial sort of structure that they're on. Like this is like the first time where it's like, oh, if this had been shot like Columbo, like in the 80s, like an 80s drama, this could have been even better than it already is. Like this is the first one that it's like, oh, like switching to a new format wouldn't have like done this script a disservice. This is like the first one where it's like, oh, that would have actually improved everything. I think.
Yeah.
Really
when
good.
they're escaping, I really love Bambera and Axeline.
Anselin.
I'm not-
like ancillary.
Anselin. Like ancillary. Cool. Yes. Okay. When they just start like rolling around fighting on the ground.
Yes.
Oh, in the background? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That was great.
She's like doing flips and stuff. Yeah. No, it rules. It's so good.
The doctor's like, oh, they're just sorting each other's credentials.
So good. So Morgaine gets out. I have always, with like all Arthurian legend, I've always preferred Morgana Le Fay as the name of this character. So like everyone calling her Morgaine is like, it was like bothering me the whole story. I know that's super dumb because she's like called different things and like different writer interpretations of it or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, she is the one that recognizes or says that Merlin has a new face.
Yeah,
that
many faces.
It's not specifically the Seventh Doctor who was Merlin. It's a different iteration, which I think is interesting. The fact that it sort of like canonizes that, I think is interesting. And it's again, it's like we're now dealing with like a second generation, maybe even a third generation, playing around with the continuity of Doctor Who and like coming in and like shaking things up in new, interesting ways that the previous generations all just sort of like took for granted. Like, oh yeah, the show is this and that's it. And that's what you do. And then this, well, what if you found out that he's Merlin, but not in his past, in his future? It hasn't happened for him yet. And like, because this is like the same time that things like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is like hitting theaters, right? Where, they're saying things like, well, if we promise ourselves that we'll do this in the future, then we'll have it for now. We just have to do it. You have to set it up later, and like thinking that like three-dimensional way that you can with time travel.
Yeah, it really feels like the writers are starting to gamify the concept and have fun with it. And you can just imagine writers to come with Doctor Who being like, oh, we can do that. Well, oh, we could do this and this. Like, he's like this. It's, it's even a bigger playground than we thought.
Yeah. Yeah. That being said, it does crack me up, the idea that like in the 90s, without a doubt, in the 90s, we would have had episodes written by Stephen Moffat, Russell T Davies, and Paul Cornell, but none of them probably would have been showrunner.
Yeah.
They would have just, like writing episodes because they all wrote like those books, like those version books. Yeah. And Russell T Davies was like even pitching on Doctor Who at this time. And he just never got a story picked up.
That's insane.
Because they're adapting one of his pitches, Big Finish is. They're adapting one of his, like, it was like a Sixth Doctor story that he pitched. I think. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So it's just really interesting, the idea that like they could have come up during this time. Like next season we could have had a Russell T Davies penned episode of like Classic Who.
Gosh,
so crazy.
That reminds me of like, I remember back when Avengers came out, you would see these memes where it would be like the cast when they were younger, and it's like, here's what the Avengers would have looked like if they had filmed in this period or whatever. And it's like just imagining those writers when they were at that level, but still with all the passion that they have for Doctor Who. Just like, yeah, it's
so crazy. Yeah, because Moffat wrote Curse of Fatal Death, and that was that 99 when that happened?
The Rowan Atkinson one.
Yeah, I think that was like 99. I'm pretty sure. But I don't know. I just find that I find that fascinating because they were all just coming up in TV, and they're like, if the BBC was like, "What do you want to work on? What do you want to write for?" I mean, like all of them would be like, "Doctor Who. I want to write Doctor Who."
The Brigadier at this point is in a helicopter.
Yeah, he's in a helicopter this whole story. A helicopter that never lands, flies all night long, to the point where there's a joke about him falling asleep because he's an old man. I didn't realize that helicopters could fly that long. I will be perfectly honest. I didn't know they held that much fuel and could fly that long.
They can.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
We're introduced to the Brigadier. His pilot is a fellow unit member named Lavelle.
Right.
And they had a cool little back and forth going.
Yeah. When Morgaine rises, comes into their dimension. There's a moment where like the whole gang is together in like a warehouse, and like it blacks out and everybody screams.
Yeah, that was great.
And I love that moment because it's just like, this is so silly and did not need to be here, but I'm so glad that it's here.
It reminded me of like kid
it's
horror.
Not just Ace.
Like Are You Afraid of the Dark or something like that?
Yeah, or like Goosebumps.
Yeah, the light suddenly goes out.
Everyone
Everybody
screams. Yeah.
Oh man. So let's see. So the helicopter is finally coming near, and he's like, "All right, time to finally land. We've been in this plane for 14 hours for some reason." And then Morgaine is just like, look at that stupid thing. I'm gonna shoot it out of the sky, and then she just zaps it with her witch lasers that come out of her fingers, and then it just immediately crashes.
And the Brigadier's like, you know what? I kind of miss this.
Yeah.
Every time I watch Star Wars now, I'm going to call Force Lightning witch lasers, and no one can stop me.
That's what it is. You're right.
Yeah.
Just shoots witch lasers out of her hands.
My witch lasers.
And then the Doctor and Ace, they go into a tunnel, and they're like, "Wait, I thought you said this tunnel was like from a really long time ago. Like, how is it concrete?" And they like touch it, and it crumbles, and they're like, "The concrete's crumbling." And he's like, "Well, it's from like, what did he say, like 301 AD or something like that?"
I think it was like 8th century or whatever.
Okay. What is the is the thought process that he, as Merlin, made these tunnels out of concrete because like he knows how to make concrete, and like no one else in the 8th century knows how to make concrete?
Yes, I think he's kind of like, he hasn't realized that he's built it yet, so he's assuming that like the alien knights have built it, and they have like, laser guns and stuff, so they know how to make concrete. And then
so is also what? Hold on. Which Merlin is he? Is he their Merlin, or is he Space Merlin, or is he literal Merlin of legend Merlin?
I don't know. And I think like, because like thinking of the story that precedes this that hasn't happened yet, like, does the Doctor just like get caught up in like this interdimensional like space knight war, and that's why he's Merlin? Or like, because like they know that he's in this dimension, and he like banishes Morgaine to like back home or whatever. So
yeah,
I don't know.
The headcanon that I was developing is like, because at one point, like, they are like, Ace is like, wait, are you Merlin? Like, is this going to, and I almost got the impression that like they're from a universe where the Arthurian canon that we know as fiction is their history, except with guns and lasers and stuff, as well as swords. And like, I guess given the sort of loose MCU multiverse rules, the idea that there is a doppelganger in every universe of everybody, like, then I was like, oh, the Doctor's doppelganger, Doctor Ganger, if you will, in this universe is Merlin.
Oh, okay.
But then I don't like, but I still like our Matt Smith or 12th Doctor being Merlin idea.
Because I like the idea. I like the idea of our Doctor being Merlin, like stumbling into it,
right?
And like just kind of like, oh, what's your name? Like kind of figuring it out, and then just like, oh, okay, well, I'm Merlin, and like filling that role,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He fell from the sky one day.
Yeah.
I do like the idea, because the sort of like Arthurian legend is just that, right? There's like not like there is I guess there's a historical basis in it, but it's not like literal, right? Of course.
Yeah.
And so I like the idea of like, what if Arthur is real, right? But he's like Flash Gordon, right?
Right.
And then like these space knights are like he shows up in their dimension, and then Morgana like comes to our dimension, and like the Doctor gets like swept up in all of that and becomes Merlin in both dimensions, sort of.
Yeah. He's not even from around here.
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
That's great. I know. I like that too. The idea that he like stumbled upon this crazy dimension and became like a king.
Yeah. So anyway, the Doctor and Ace, they get trapped in the tunnel, and then they find a spaceship, and realize that they're like under the lake.
Yep.
And Ace is like messing around because the body of Arthur is like obviously dead, but for some reason the whole story they're like, well, he might be asleep. I don't know. But very obviously dead.
Over.
Yeah. And Excalibur's next to him, like stabbed into this console, and Ace is like playing around, and he's like, stop that, don't touch Excalibur. And he's like, what? It's not like I'm the chosen king. Like, I'm not going to be able to pull this out of here. And then immediately pulls it out of there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you are. Yeah, you did.
And then like, it's like a hologram
snake eel thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Hologram steel. Yeah.
I called it the flying snake ghost in my notes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Because the ship was also in the form of a snake.
Right.
And there's that great moment where the Doctor is like, how are we going to open? He's like, how are we going to open? And the Doctor's like, I think I have an idea. Hey, open up. And like the mouth opens.
Yeah, that is good. So Ace stumbles into like this booth thing that closes behind her and then starts filling up with water for some reason. And she's like going to drown, and the Doctor like tries to go stop it, but gets knocked out. And then that's where episode 2 ends.
God bless Sylvester McCoy, because there is it is kind of like an Evil Dead shot where the camera takes the POV of the flying snake ghost, and it's flying directly towards Sylvester McCoy, and he has to like catch the camera with his hands and then like pretend to get knocked back.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. It is pretty great. Battlefield, Part 3. Written by Ben Aronovich, directed by Michael Kerrigan, produced by John Nathan Turner, script edited by Andrew Cartmel, air date 20th of September, 1989. While walking near a lake, Anselin and the archaeologist discuss the legend of the Lady in the Lake, just as, to their astonishment, a hand appears from the lake brandishing Excalibur. It turns out to be Ace, whom the Doctor managed to free from the spaceship below the lake. The Doctor continues to fight the spaceship's defense system, but it is only stopped when the Brigadier suddenly intervenes. Reunited, the friends leave back through the tunnel and rejoin the others at the dig. Meanwhile, Morgaine has sent Mordred and his knights after the Doctor and the others, with orders to take Excalibur and kill any who resist. At the hotel, the innkeepers are terrified by Morgaine's cavalier killing of the helicopter pilot, but grateful, if bewildered, when she restores Elizabeth's sight to pay for her son's tab. The party splits up for the ride back to the hotel. Mordred's knights set up an ambush in the woods between the hotel and the dig, but mistakenly attack Bambera and Anselin's car, while the others make it back to the hotel safely with Excalibur in tow. A unit patrol reports that Bambera and Anselin managed to escape the knights, but the Doctor points out that Mordred and his knights are still out there, and that nothing stands between them and the now unguarded missile convoy by the lake. Fortunately for the Doctor, Lethbridge-Stewart thought to bring along transportation. Bessie, the Doctor's car from his unit days. He and the Doctor depart, leaving Ace and Shao behind with Excalibur and instructions on avoiding Morgaine's sorcery. Morgaine leaps at her chance to snatch Excalibur from the hands of its young guardians, summoning a blue demon called the Destroyer to help her. But Ace remembers the Doctor's warning and draws a protective circle of chalk. Much to her surprise, it seems to work, until Morgaine manipulates Ace and Shao into fighting each other, trying to draw one or both out of the circle, but they ultimately overcome this and embrace each other. At the dig, unit troops face off against Mordred and his knights, and Mordred himself is confronted by Anselin. But Mordred smugly announces that the battle was only a diversion for his mother's attempt at Excalibur, and that Ace and Shao stand no chance against the Destroyer. Episode 3 starts with the Doctor waking up and saving Ace. Like, that's it. That's how they solve it. He just comes to. And then the coolest moment of the whole story, which is like, one of you guys say it, because I think it's too cool for me to say.
The archaeology guy and the other characters are like on the shore of the lake waiting for the Doctor and Ace to come back. And they're talking about the legend of the Lady of the Lake and like, you know, like Excalibur being gifted to Arthur through this Lady of the Lake. And while they're talking about this, like, you see the sword break the water, and then Ace like floats up and like holding the sword aloft like the Lady of the Lake. And it's the most fucking badass thing.
It's so good.
It's great. It's just so, you know, after last week, it's just really cool to get a story that really hooks their companion up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like a lot of cool moments.
They hooked her up all right. They hooked her up to a dying alien and swapped her brains.
Oh
boy.
Anyway.
Are we at the point where we can start ranking like saddest companion deaths?
I don't think
Classico?
so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I don't think we're quite there yet.
There aren't a lot of companion deaths.
No, there aren't too many.
Maybe
okay,
fates. Saddest fates is a better term.
Yeah, that's probably true. Brigadier and the Doctor finally reunited. And I just love at this point that Brigadier's just like, yeah, I know who you are. I don't really care what you look like. You're the Doctor. I know your vibe. I know that vibe anywhere.
Yeah, what does he say? The Doctor's like, oh, how did you know it was me? And the Brigadier's like, who else would it be? Like down here at in a spaceship at the bottom of a lake. Like,
flailing.
Oh my god.
Of course it's you. It's the best.
It's also really, it's just really romantic.
It is.
After all these years.
It is. It absolutely is. It's also fun that the last time the Brigadier canonically meets the Doctor, he's in his incarnation that looks the most like the first incarnation that he met with the second Doctor. The second Doctor and the seventh Doctor are kind of similar vibes.
Well,
similar. They're both little guys with brown hair.
Because he meets Five first.
He meets Five first?
Yeah. Doesn't he?
I thought he met
The
three
Brigadier?
first.
Or no, like, are you talking about like?
Oh, you mean like?
Because he ran into Five, and then like he retires, and then seven. Or I'm confused.
Oh,
yeah,
you
but
mean
the
he met
first-
five before six?
Oh,
Before seven
oh.
is what you mean.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I mean, the second Doctor is the first Doctor he met.
Okay, I got you.
First face he
Yes,
saw.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything's Gucci. We're good.
Okay.
That's what he says to the Doctor.
I love the scene with Mordred like chilling in the pub. That's good stuff. I also like how much he loves the microbrew beer, even though everyone says it tastes bad. Because I'm like, oh yeah, beer probably tasted terrible back then, so this is probably just normal for him. But I love that
Morgaine.
he has major Loki vibes.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
I thought he looked a lot like Chris Klein.
Yeah, a little bit. I can see that.
Like
His
Chris
eyes
Klein
aren't quite as
look.
dime shaped as Chris Klein, but
Right.
yeah.
That was pretty sad when Morgaine killed Lavelle. I think that was like the only death of the episode, of the whole story.
Yeah. And like for very little reason, like she did not need to
Just
do that.
petty.
And then like, they're like, you can't just leave her like that, and she's like, you're right. And then she turns her to ash.
There you go.
Brutal.
Then
then
she cures that woman's blindness.
Yeah, but I love the line that she says. She was like, we have to be going, but first let me pay my son's tab. And then heals her sight. Which I was like, oh. She's like, I don't have money, but I can make you not blind no more. It's so
We square?
weird. For a moment though, when she does that, the husband, the pub owner, like kind of like holds his head and stuff, and I was like, oh, is she gonna be like, I can see, and he's like, I'm blind now?
Yeah.
Because like I thought she was gonna like swap them.
Because the way that she like gestures her fingers, like she takes it from the wife, and it looks like she like bestows it to the husband, and that's like I thought that was gonna be a thing too, but that's like, whatever.
Yeah. No, she's like, a sorceress always pays her debts. And she's like, she leaves.
I guess, I don't know if this was the writer's intention, but it's kind of like, we are kind of supposed to believe by the end of the story that she's not 100% evil.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So maybe it's like, it's like writing a thin line. I guess kind of like Loki, where it's like, how bad can we make this character and still, expect him to
There's that
be able to-
moment, I think it's in episode 2, where she meets the Brigadier before the Brigadier reunites with the Doctor, and like they're honoring the dead of like one of the world wars, because they're just like, oh look, it's a monument to their dead, like we have to like honor them. And so they have like a little ceasefire ceremony, and she basically is just like, you're a good man, and it's a shame that like the next time we meet I'm gonna kill you, like pretty much. And like it's like this really weird like warped sense of like chivalric code that I think is really interesting. I really like her as a villain, and I think Jean Marsh is like killing it. Like I really like her in this role.
Yeah. There's multiple things in this story that I wish would come back. I wish this Arthurian stuff would come back with the Merlin stuff, and then I wish she would come back as a villain in a story or an anti-hero or whatever.
Didn't she pass away recently?
Desperately.
I don't know if she's.
Well, yeah, but they can hire somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah. They could do a younger one. I mean, she's like,
Right,
kind of like in her 40s here. So you could like
or
get somebody
like
in their 20s or something.
She is like a witch. So it could even be kind of like Master Rules where it's like, oh my gosh, let's get this crazy, like Rebecca Ferguson or like someone crazy to be like canonically that Morgaine. But like, I learned how to regenerate.
I like how you picked the one person who has literally played Morgana Le Fay in a movie.
Oh, right. Yeah. The kid who would be king, which everyone listening should check out.
Absolutely. They should check that out. Cass, have you watched that yet?
No, I haven't because it wasn't playing in theaters here.
Oh, well, It's on Disney Plus now,
shit.
So you should just watch it.
I will.
Yeah.
It fell from theaters like a suit of armor falling from space.
Yep.
Through a brewery.
And then the other thing I desperately want to come back is the Destroyer. That thing rules, and it should absolutely return to Doctor Who.
This is where we see his shadowy outline, right? It's episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is also where we see I guess new Brigadier's finest hour, where she's like drive. Yeah, go ahead, Nick. I want you to say it. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So there's like, she's driving with Anselin and they have like a really cool, like back and forth, like, I'm starting to get into this, I'm starting to, and there's like evil knights on the side of the road and she like pops the top of the vehicle.
Well, wait. She says, have you ever you said you were from another dimension? Yeah. Do they have cars in your dimension? No. Have you ever seen a car before? No. Have you ever driven a car before? No. Great. Hold the wheel.
Right. Yeah. And then she like launches the roof, like flies off. She stands up with like a Gatling gun or like, and then just mows down knights and then like plops back down. And then I think she asks Anselin if he's single.
Yes.
Yep. Yes. That's the kind of thing where I'm like, the way that this show is shot at this point is doing this script a disservice, because like that is such a killer. That is a Stephen Moffat scene. Like that scene, you can wholesale lift and have it directed by Rachel
Talali.
Anybody. Yeah. Anybody from New Who. And like, it would be even better than it already is in this show. But like, it's just, it's so interesting watching this era and seeing it surpass the quality of the writing, surpassing like the way that the show is made now,
Bambera is a very Moffat-y character. He always really liked the kind of larger than life, like no one's this cool, but
right.
Like in my show, people can be this cool. You can be like Lady Vastra.
Yeah. Yeah. It's why I'm actually so surprised that his Brigadier's daughter, that like she's not cooler than she is. Like she's a vibe and I like her, but like she never steps into like, holy shit, this chick is cool.
She's a bit more Born Identity.
Yeah. She's a bit more of like Brigadier exposition.
Aww.
Unfortunately,
she had some cool moments in Flux, I thought.
That's true. There was definitely. Maybe Russell will be able to figure something out to do with her.
Is
definitely
she coming back for the finale?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't think anybody died at Flux. Like I don't think any of the. I think all the classic companions and whatnot, I think they all made it out.
Yeah, probably. And so they're evacuating the area, and the doctor gives Ace a piece of chalk, and was like, draw a circle around you and anyone you want to protect, as long as you're holding Excalibur. And she's like, okay, whatever, man, cool. Sounds crazy. And then our next big like a guest star of the story, the return of Bessie.
Yes.
The third Doctor's automobile.
Mhm. It's pretty admirable how it's directed, like the reveal of it, like, the swoosh when they tear the blanket off or whatever. But
Yeah.
like going back to your note earlier, it's like, yeah, you can imagine like how this would be shot now, like the more like the Skyfall-y way of like really showing
Still
off
got
Bessie.
Yeah. And now instead of who won, it now says who 7 because he's the 7th Doctor, you see. I don't know who's changing out that license plate for him, but
The Brigadier.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
Is there any part of Bessie that is like TARDIS-y?
No.
Or is it like
it
a
can't,
totally normal Earth
travel
car?
or anything. It has some like fun stuff in it, but like nothing TARDIS.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. Because I was going to say that could be the license plate could be like it's one magic-y thing if it knows what incarnation of the Doctor it is.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I thought you were going to say like every time it crashes, it regenerates and then the license plate changes.
It's the 7th Bessie.
Yeah.
Bessie, no.
Brigadier, I've accidentally wrecked Bessie. Oh no, it didn't regenerate, did it? Oh, bother.
Oh, it happened again.
Oh, it's red now. Oh no.
It's like this.
And then it acts erratically for like a day, and then it gets over. Yeah. The third Bessie just did donuts for 24 hours.
This one's shit.
Is it done yet?
Great. Headcanon.
So yeah. So Ace and her new friend are in the chalk circle, and they start hearing each other like say mean stuff to each other. But it's all Morgaine.
Yeah,
that
was a sweet moment,
trying to get them to break the chalk circle.
Mm-hmm. And then Ace catches herself, and she's like, "Oh, Xiao Young, I can never be mad at you." We're in like they hug.
Yeah.
The thing that she says right before that, though, I was like, "Whoa," because I'd be pissed if someone called me yellow. Like
that was when I was like, "Oh, this is magic," because they started going below the belt like so fast.
Yeah.
I bet your stupid parents didn't even want you, you pyromaniac. And she was like, I ought it.
Yeah.
I do wish though that the racist thing had been the thing to snap her out of it. Like as soon as it like left her mouth, she was like, "Wait a minute, what?"
Well, it is because she doesn't finish what she's saying, and she's just like, "Wait a minute."
Oh, okay. Yeah, and then the destroyer shows up.
Mm-hmm. He's like a My Pet Monster.
Yeah,
because he's like manacled.
Right. God, he looks so good. He looks so good. Battlefield, Part 4, written by Ben Aronovich, directed by Michael Kerrigan, produced by John Nathan Turner, script edited by Andrew Cartmel, air date 27th of September, 1989. Mordred offers the Doctor a trade, the girls' lives for Excalibur, but the Doctor, outraged, threatens to decapitate him unless Morgaine surrenders himself. But Mordred calls the Doctor's bluff. He knows of Merlin's distaste for taking life, and while he is proven right about the Doctor, the Brigadier pulls his gun and declares that he has no such problem. The two old friends force Mordred into their car and head back to the hotel. They arrive just as the destroyer, under Morgaine's command, has nearly brought the hotel down on Ace and Xiao. The Doctor finds them under a pile of rubble, relieved that they were able to stay alive even at the cost of surrendering Excalibur to Morgaine. Morgaine frees the destroyer, leaving it to do what it does best in this universe, while she and Mordred flee to their own universe. The Doctor deduces that since the destroyer was bound in silver chains, it will be vulnerable to silver bullets. Upon hearing this plan, the Brigadier distracts the Doctor, knocks him out, and takes his gun, loaded with the silver bullets, to spare the Doctor the duty of killing the destroyer himself. Confronting the creature, the Brigadier trades barbs with the destroyer before he loads the silver bullets into it, destroying the creature in a green explosion. The Doctor and Ace witness the explosion and find the Brigadier's body. The Doctor begins to mourn his old friend, only to discover that the Brigadier has miraculously survived. Meanwhile, Morgaine and Mordred cross back into our world and take Bambera hostage. They force her to divulge the launch codes of the nuclear missile and prepare it for launch. Anselin, the Doctor, Ace, and the Brigadier return Excalibur to the spaceship under the lake, where they find that the sword activates the spaceship but does not resurrect Arthur. According to a note left by the Doctor for himself from the future and the past, Arthur was killed in the Battle of Canlin, not placed in suspended animation. The note also warns that Morgaine now has control of the nuclear missile, and the four friends rush back to the surface. While Ace and the Brigadier destroy the spaceship, the Doctor tries to stop the missile launch. Morgaine is determined to go through with it, but when the Doctor explains the full horror of nuclear warfare, she relents with seconds to spare. She demands instead that King Arthur face her for a final confrontation, but the Doctor reveals that Arthur is dead, and she is stricken with sudden and unexpected grief, leading to Mordred and Morgaine surrendering to UNIT. Back at the Lethbridge-Stewart house, the Brigadier and Anselin are left to work in the garden while the Doctor cooks supper. In the meantime, Doris, Shao, Ace, and Bambera have commandeered Bessie for a girls' trip into town. Episode 4, the Doctor threatens to decapitate Mordred. That's fun.
I like when the Brigadier shoots. Does he shoot Destroyer or does he shoot at does he shoot at Morgaine?
I think no, it's just the destroyer.
He fires into them, and the Doctor. Okay, and the Doctor's
just the destroyer.
Yeah.
Like, really, Ben? And he's like, "Oh, nothing ventured, nothing gained."
Oh no, I think he does. He uses it twice because he doesn't have the silver bullets yet. The first time.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But yeah, so Mordred is like, "You're not gonna fucking kill me. I know about Merlin. He's a good guy. Mm-hmm. You're not gonna do nothing." And he's like, "Ah, darn it, you're right. Dag nabbit drat." And then the Brigadier just pulls out a gun and just is like, "Why don't you look up the history books on me, motherfucker?"
Right? I like that Mordred takes one look at this guy and it's just like, "Oh no." Like
yeah. Oh, this guy will kill me.
Yeah.
100%. So
I excuse all of my actions for the crown. I can do anything.
And I like when he does it too. The Doctor's like, "Brigadier, no." Brigadier's, "Sorry, Doctor. Man's got to do what a man's got to do."
The old-timey box Morgan Le Fay.
I like when the Brigadier is like threatening to kill him, and Mordred's like, "Mom, can you help me?" And she's just like, "Oh, well, die well, my son." And he just he pouts.
Oh man, he still has her back later though.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was gonna turn on her, and I thought Mordred and Anselin were gonna be like bros, and I was like, man, this is gonna really turn out just like Thor, like medieval Thor and Loki. Because aren't they like half brothers or something like that? No, Mordred is Arthur's bastard son.
I think so.
Right?
I think in some
yeah
things, because he hooks up with Morgana
versions.
Yeah.
His half sister, right?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Real nice.
So it'd be like
real
Thor.
Game of Thrones bullshit.
Or most of history.
Well, yeah. You think I know history? I know pop culture, buddy.
You watch a lot of Doctor Who, though. He does historical stuff.
That's all the history I learned, and as we learned during the research for this story, not a lot of medieval set Doctor Who stories,
right,
unfortunately.
Ace up my sleeve. Incredible line.
Mhm.
Oh, hell yeah. How long were they sitting on that? How long were they like, no, not yet. It's not time yet. Don't do it.
She's going to do something so cool one day.
We get the big battle in this one.
Mhm.
Yeah. Lots of dead. There's like this scene where he's like, yeah, like Anselin's like, yeah, it's battle time. Let's do this thing. And new Brigadier's like, I don't want to do that. That seems, I know he seem all gung ho and everything, but I don't know. And then he's like, what do you mean? It's just 30 people.
We could take them.
Against 2 of us. We got this. It's insane.
We're in love. We can do anything.
Oh man. So this is the moment where Briggs shoots the destroyer without silver bullets.
Mhm.
And then the destroyer is just like, huh, and then shoots him through a window.
And the doctor's like, hey, that's not on.
Pretty good. And then the doctor is like, Morgaine like wants Excalibur,
Mhm.
and it says like, I'll set the destroyer free on your Earth if you don't give me Excalibur. And he's like, well, I'm not giving you Excalibur, but I know that you're not going to set him free because that would be insane. And then she immediately sets him free, and he's like, well, God damn it, which is the best. It's so good.
Ace was like, well, way to go, doctor. And I was like, whoa, she never calls him doctor. And
Yeah.
like, it's almost like, it almost felt sarcastic.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh man, so good. And then we get demonic striptease where he's
Just busting out of that
pulling
armor.
off each. Yeah,
Mhm.
there is one moment where the costume doesn't hold up, where he stretches a little too far, and you see a lot of flesh-colored skin on his
Yep.
neck for like a split second.
Flew a little too
I had to
close the
rewind it because I was like, "Wait, did I see what I thought I saw?" And I was like, "Yep, sure did."
Rein it in, buddy.
There it is.
So the doctor, they get out, the doctor and Ace, and then like the doctor's like, well, nothing for it. Gonna have to kill something with a gun.
Yep. He starts loading up a gun with silver bullets. He's like, I think this is the only way.
Hate shooting stuff, but you got to do what you got to do. And Brigadier's like, well, I love shooting stuff, so
I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
Judo chops his ass.
he judo chops the doctor.
Yeah.
Ironically,
In the chest, unconscious. Like, he judo chops him in the chest, and the doctor is knocked unconscious.
You know what's
And then he
like thinking about that?
he goes into Wreck House.
I love the idea that like the doctor is probably the one who taught him how to do that, because he's all like the third doctor's always like
Yeah.
karate chopping stuff.
Yeah, hell yeah.
how dare you use my spells?
And then the Brigadier goes back inside to literally Wreck House.
Mhm.
And shoots that thing in the chest, which we see the bullet enter its body, which is like shockingly violent for an episode of Doctor Who, I think.
The line is, he's like, oh, like, are you really like the best? Is this the strongest that Britain could come up with? And he's like, nope.
The best champion. Yeah.
The best champion. He's like, nope, but I do the best that I can.
Yeah. Blam.
Blam. And then
Yeah.
you think, I love that when they think that he's Ace is like, oh, he's dead, he's cooked, no chance.
Do you see how that building went up?
The first thing you see is his little hat on the ground.
Yeah. And they find him, and the doctor like cradles him in his arms. He's
Oh.
like, no, my boy, my dear sweet boy. I loved you more than all the others.
There's a part where he says you were supposed to die in your bed. And I was like, oh, he does.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, it was a cool bit of like, that's a part where he's like, oh no, he passed. And like, it's like another cool moment where the show is like kind of playing forward in a way that it hasn't before, kind of accidentally.
Yeah.
Or did Moffat like, wait, no, there's this line in Battlefield where the doctor says you die in your bed. So it's like, that's how he has to.
Yeah, that's probably what he did. But either way, I mean, I love that. I think it's really cool. Now, if only he had paid off the Merlin thing too. Son of a bitch, Moffat.
What are you good for?
Maybe we're just rebooting showrunners, and in 5 years we'll get Moffat 2.0, and then he'll do Merlin. Then
he's ready. Then,
yeah. Did you guys hear? Did you hear that rumor that he's writing an episode for the new season? Yeah. Like old
God
times.
Damn it!
Like just like writing.
I hate
one
that.
episode.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I know.
I'm more excited by that than the prospect of him having a whole season again.
Yeah,
just because.
Sure.
Like I like the idea of him just being like, all right, I'm just gonna burn the barn down. Hey, I got like 40 pages. Let's do it. Then I'm out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He wrote a 13th Doctor prose story that was really good, and it made me.
Yeah, it was good. I read that too. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this still ends with I can't emphasize this enough that this story features the Brigadier point blank shooting a demon in the chest and winning.
Hell yeah, he wins.
Is the Morgana stuff after this or before this? How that resolves?
After this.
Okay.
After this, because you think like, well, we can't reach any higher than this, and you're mostly right. Mostly right. That's sort of the climax, I think.
What's the name of the actor that plays Morgaine?
Jean Marsh.
Jean Marsh. Yes.
Jean Marsh. She sells the crap out of that last scene.
Yes.
It is so much more poignant than. Like, and it kind of on the page, it's just like kind of any like, oh my God, Arthur's dead. I'm never going to see him again. But it's just like, you can kind of feel the ancient nature of that character. It almost is like, oh man, I don't know. She crushes that moment.
Yeah. It's a really great scene and a really great sort of like soft ending to the story, you know?
Because the doctor's able to like, through his conviction is like, don't do this is so stupid. Like you have to be better than this, right? Like no one wins if you do this. She's like, you're right.
Yeah, that's good. There's also a scene where the doctor leaves a note for himself in the spaceship, which I assume is from Merlin Doctor.
Yes. It's from yeah.
So he basically he tells him
King.
that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was like, King died in battle. Everything else propaganda.
Right. And then that's what he tells to Morgaine.
P.S.
She's like, wait, why am I doing any of this?
No, the P.S. Morgaine has a nuke. Like
yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very Bill and Ted because it's like, oh shit, how are they going to learn that? Oh, the future doctor just tells them.
Yeah, well, there's this great moment. There's this great moment too where I forget. I think it's Ace that finds the note. She's like, there's a note here. And he was like, well, I don't know that we can trust that. And then she's like, it's from you. It's from the doctor. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, we can definitely trust that.
I guess it worked out. But yeah, I'm delighted by the image of like 11 or 12 one day being like, oh crap, I got to go to that Merlin dimension and do that thing.
Yeah. Oh man. What if that Merlin episode is the Moffat episode that he's writing for the new season? But it's Shooty Catwa.
Okay, I really want that to happen because Black Merlin would make people so mad, and I would love it so much.
Man, would it ever? It'd be the best.
It would
be the best. Oh man. So anyway. Everything's good, and then Ace takes Bessie and the girls on a trip to town, including Brigadier's wife, who tells the doctor to make sure the dinner's ready when they get back.
It's baller.
Because she's got Ace has the automobile
Yes!
goggles.
Yeah.
She puts on the goggles.
And like they drive away, and Anselin's like, "Aren't they magnificent?" And Brigadier's like, "What? I don't want to cook that."
It's so good. And so ends an absolute banger of an episode.
Terrific.
That's something that I do like how Seventh Doctor stories end. They usually end really strongly, like in a really like fun, character-y place.
Mm-hmm. Guy falls down an elevator shaft.
Yep. Right. Exactly. So yeah. So that's our Seventh Doctor story this time around. Love it. Good time.
I would say every once in a while, I think, like, you know, if you're listening to this and like I would think that I would say this is like a really great entry level like new Classic Who episode if you're a fan of the new version of the show.
100%. Yeah. This is a really good one to watch. So yeah, check out Battlefield if you've never seen it before. But also check out our Patreon, duallygenre.com/support. Support us there. Let us know you're joining for the Doctor's Companion, and we'll start making Patreon content. And next week, 8th Doctor, Big Finish Audio, Embrace the Darkness. The next batch of TDC episodes are going to come fast and heavy because we have to get them out before the centenary special. I don't know, centenary.
That's not going to happen.
Centennial special. Okay. They all sound like made up words to me. I don't know. But yeah, the final 13th Doctor story is coming out in October. So we gotta hit you with a bunch of these. So we're gonna start releasing.
Was that confirmed that it's in October, or is it just like fall still?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No. It has to be October because that's when the BBC's centennial celebration is happening.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So we're gonna be sort of shooting these episodes out every Sunday and Tuesday for the rest of the season. So you get 2 episodes a week, which makes sense because they will likely be a little shorter than the other ones. Just because, we don't do the big involved recaps with the new Who stuff because everybody's seen those and they're shorter. So there's less to talk about. But yeah, that all starts next week with the 8th Doctor Big Finish Audio story, Embrace the Darkness, which we'll be covering on Sunday, this coming Sunday. So look for that. And we'll talk to you then. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.